10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sounds working. We are live. Hey there, friends. Good morning. I hope you're doing all right. It is 5:07 a.m. and we're about to get started with our mobility session this morning. For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I am 41 years old, and I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to get between 7 and 9 hours in a night. Last night I got 8 hours of sleep. I am very happy about that. I try to eat within my energy balance. Try to eat around 2,200 calories with the goal of maintaining my weight. I eat normal food, regular whole foods, lots of fresh foods, hardly anything packaged or pre-made or takeaway, and I generally try to eat between 60 and 80 grams of protein in a day, and on a training day that might go up a little bit to between 80 and 100 grams, but those are the numbers that I landed on after some deliberation, and that's changed from previously trying to eat between 120 and 150 grams of protein in a day. So let's see where that intake takes us in terms of my muscle growth and strength development goals. I show up for training, strength training, conditioning training, mobility training, strength conditioning training, sprints, steady state, low intensity cardio, some high intensity cardio, and mobility is what we're going to do this morning, and all of that just to maintain general functionality of my body. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for living my life, not only now, but when I'm 60, 70, 80, and who knows, we might even hit the 90s. I would like to be active and fit in as much as I can. So let's see how we're going to get there. All right. That's all I have to say. We're going to get started. We're going to do mobility. We're going to do some core stability. We're going to do my shoulder exercises on the ball because I want to fix the mobility and capability of this shoulder in order to be able to do all of the cool overhead work with the kettlebells. And that's it. It's 11 past 5 a.m. Let's take our 30 minutes and get started with our mobility session. And in the meantime, if you have any questions or if there's anything you want to ask or talk about, you go ahead and you reach out to me in chat, and we can have a conversation about general health and fitness, because there's so much to talk about, right? And if you enjoy the workouts, the sessions, or just the company, then we can actually, you can ask me some questions, you can subscribe, and we can have this conversation with every video that I publish. I think I didn't set the timer correctly. Yeah, there we go. I set the timer to 1 minute each, and that is, of course, not what we want. We want 30-second intervals. And then we want to move on from those. But we'll get there. eventually. Breathing in and breathing out. See, I think I've been concerned about the way I look since I was 15. That's 25 years of unnecessary anxiety, and I've gone through different phases. And if I could go back to my 15-year-old self, I would probably tell him, look, buddy, first of all, and I know you're going to find this hard to believe, friend, I'd say to myself, you're good just the way you are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. So can you really look at yourself and say, hey, I'm pretty cool for who I am, for my sense of humor, for my outlook on life, for the way I behave with other people, the way I'm able to connect, laugh, have fun, make friends. And then from there, not talk about looks as much, but really look into, well, what's healthy and how a healthy lifestyle actually is going to affect not only the way you feel, but also the way you look. Because I think my 15-year-old self was more looking to fit in and to adhere to certain body standards that seemed unattainable, which for me was extra hard because I had an older brother, have an older brother, who was incredibly athletic and had a real athlete's body, and I was the young, chubby one in the family. And from there, up until when I was 33, so that's 18 years, I thought training and dieting and weight maintenance was all about the way I looked. And that was the most important factor. And the strange thing is, I never really succeeded in my 20s. To actually reach my own ideals. And it took me up to, I think, being 35 to understand that those ideals, oh, those ideals were simply not the epitome of being healthy, but might have been the ideal that was showcased to me and to many other boys my age through media TV, magazines, movies. And I guess the insight right now is that if you work on your health, you work on your fitness, the way you look will change, but you're not going to get there by doing push-ups and by starving yourself for 2 weeks and then binge eating on a weekend. You're also not going to be able to change your food habits on your own, especially not when you're dependent on a mother and a father to buy the food for you. So in other words, there were a lot of factors that were at play in terms of my health and fitness that I only later realized were actually a part of the equation, because I literally thought there must be something wrong with me for not being able to lose that belly and for always being a bit soft. Paul Simon said, a bit soft in the middle. Right? Realizing that's not the case at all. But try explaining that to an insecure 15-year-old and an insecure teenager. I guess that's the fortune we have of aging in life, maturing, and starting to learn things about how the world works. So now, by letting go of that ambition and those kinds of goals, the funny thing is we inch closer and closer to what I think is my normal body posture and size. But that is years in the making. And I'm convinced that it is one of the best gifts I can give myself in life, simply because every change and every workout and every meal just feels like another step in the right direction. So, we're all in a different phase of our health and fitness journey. We're all doing what we think is right and good for us within the framework of what we know and what we understand of health and fitness. And I think that this is important for us to capture and to see is that one of the key limitations in our personal health and fitness journey is this idea that there are people out there online who have all the answers. One of the reasons I went and got a certification in personal training and health coaching is because in this field I found it was important for me to have a better baseline and understanding of what I should believe and what I should not believe, what kind of questions I should be able to ask to actually reshape my understanding and knowledge of what's going on with health and fitness. And thankfully, by being able to ask better questions, I've started to figure out even more about the truths and the lies of the fitness and health industry. Sadly, it turns out that common sense generally is a good guide, but it can be quite misleading in some cases. And understanding the nuances of where something that might seem commonsensical, like, well, if it's processed, maybe it's bad for you. And understanding the nuances in processing and refining and what actually happens. And understanding what does and does not impact your food system or your digestive system is probably helpful in terms of figuring out what kind of information helps and harms your understanding of health and fitness. Right? Understanding the difference between animal trials and human clinical trials, and between anecdotes and population studies, and between hypotheses, indications, results, and also sample sizes. It's probably helpful in terms of getting a grasp of which information is being shared and what that actually means. So keep your wits about you, that's all I can say. And think about the things that you hear in the context of what you see people around you doing. Talk to people who you think are relatively fit and healthy. To get there, take an understanding on the whole, and then from there, start building your own This is all harder than it maybe looks on camera. But it's all for a good cause. Right? Yeah, we're going to do some core stability. And then we're going to repeat those exercises again. So yeah, that's where I've landed in my health and fitness journey. What about you? Where are you in your understanding, your learning? Because in the end, we're going to learn things that we are going to adhere to or work with for the rest of our lives. I remember the first time I had to do this exercise and I couldn't. At 33, 34, I was not able to do a side plank. That's how unfit I was. That's how weak my core had gotten. There are simply some situations that we don't want to return to in life. And one of those situations would be not being able to hold myself properly upright because of a weak core. I think one of the nice things about having a simple and easy daily practice is that at least the baseline of the ability is fixed, locked in place. And we are going to benefit from that over the course of a lifetime. Almost done. Almost. Ooh. Okay. Let's see. Should we call it the Superman or the swim? So all of these exercises doing because I want that right shoulder to regain some range of motion. Which is proving to be quite a challenge. But we'll get there. Oh. All right, friends. Let's take a minute to pause and reflect. It is 5:45 a.m. where I'm at. It's the start of the day. Just finished the mobility routine. Going to make my coffee. We're going to talk. It is Thursday, so we're going to talk about connection, friendship. And then I'm going to go out for a walk. Big breath in, big breath out. For those of you who are watching, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. Having spent this time with me, having worked on our health, fitness together. Appreciate that. Appreciate you. Remember that we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today. It's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness is going to go a long way. All right? The only way to get anything done, friends, is by showing up and doing the work. Hit like, subscribe. Let me know that you've watched. Let me know if you want me to make more different kinds of routines. I can see what I can do there. And, subscribe to be connected, get updates, and to continue the conversation. I talk about health, fitness, longevity, life after 40. If that's something you're interested in, you know where to find me. Let's move on with the rest of the day. And remember, friends, subscribe.